have the Ayatollah of fantasy rock and roller with us today, Adam Rank. How you doing, Rank?
They look great in person, and I just can't wait to next year where we can pack it full of 25,000.
Hey, Bob, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. I didn't know it was Ball Guys Day. It was being ranked. I mean, how can you lose?
This is the Dynasty Vipers Vipercast.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Dynasty Vipers Vipercast. This is episode 111, give or take. I don't really keep track. I just like to throw a number after each episode just to make it look like we know what we are doing. Most of us on this show actually do. And let me introduce them to you. We've got way too Major, double F, Major Caldwell. If you listen to us on audio, it doesn't really matter, but he's here right beside me. Major, how are you doing tonight?
I am good. Happy to be on the show with the whole team. I mean, minus one, but we with the core group here from the season. I'm messing that all up. I'm just trying to say I missed you guys.
Well, it's good to get our group of three back together because joining us after a 1 week absence, Tera Roberts at It's Tera Time is back with us once again. Tera, how are you doing?
I'm so tired. I'm getting back into the swing of football. Felt oddly guilty not talking about football for almost like 2 weeks. Like very weird. Very weird. You miss it.
It's a strange thing, but you know who likes to talk about football? Fantasy Points Media Group, who is bringing the Vipercast to you once again this week. Head over to fantasypoints.com right now. I mean, right now, right up into the Super Bowl, you can get 30%. That's 30% off that subscription. One of the best bang for your buck subscription services out there in all of fantasy football. That's fantasypoints.com. Do it right now. Now, things that we need to do right now, we need to talk about several huge news update type things. One happens to be what to do, Tera, with Aaron Rodgers. Is it too soon to start talking about Aaron Rodgers? Or can we talk about Aaron Rodgers? I mean, we're going to talk about him. We're not going to talk about his vaccination status because he wants no part of that right now because apparently he's been hearing plenty of that recently. But where do we go from here with Aaron Rodgers? Tera.
I mean, it's I think we all kind of had to know this was coming, that maybe 2021 was kind of a one last hurrah, and that he was likely going to be. I really don't anticipate him staying in Green Bay. It would take financial miracles. They say that they're prepared to make things happen and keep everybody, but I think you kind of have to say that as an organization. You don't want to say like, okay, we can't keep everybody, someone's going to go. So unfortunately, I think it's kind of just lip service right now. So yeah, prepare for the departure of Aaron Rodgers. The only thing I can say is that luckily, I don't think he's going to pull a Brett Favre and drag this out for a ridiculous amount of time. So I think we'll get things tied up pretty quickly here, and that's a good thing if we can get things tied up maybe before we head into the draft and we don't have to linger. So get prepared. For those of you who are wanting to take the risk and keep him and think that he'll go to a good situation and can perform still at a high level, or get prepared to maybe sell if you're a little bit skeptical.
Well, one of the things for everyone listening right now is the Packers are about $40 million in the rear when it comes to the salary cap. There's only one team that's worse than them, and we'll get to that in a second. But if we see Aaron Rodgers go to the AFC, if that's a possibility, I know we've heard connections to the Steelers, to the Broncos, seem to be the most prolific teams that we hear in mentions of Aaron Rodgers. Does Rodgers become like the seventh best quarterback in that conference now? I mean, we talk about all the great quarterbacks right now, the Josh Allens, the Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson. Where does Aaron Rodgers truly stack up amongst these young signal callers in the AFC?
I mean, for me, he's still Aaron Rodgers. There's no physical decline or anything. I know he's a little, of a higher age than a lot of those young guns over there in the AFC. But in my opinion, he's still one of those top guys. He's not somebody who, unless he goes to a destitute situation, that you would want to aggressively drop in your rankings. So he's still, I'm still holding pat where I have him.
And then, Major, over to you here. We just talked about 40 million being a bad number when it comes to cap. What's your thoughts on 74 million? And if you were a coach of a team that was 74 million in the hole, what are you doing? You just going to walk out and leave on this? Or are you going to pull like the Sean Payton? We're talking Sean Payton here, who is not retiring, but he's certainly not coaching in New Orleans next season. Major thoughts?
Yeah, I'm taking that TV deal as soon as possible, especially with the quarterbacks. If you were in that much, I shouldn't call it debt, but if you didn't have any cap room and you have a really good quarterback, maybe you can salvage that. But without a quarterback and so much without any cap room, you are screwed. So I think he did the smart thing. If I'm Miami, if I'm anyone, even if you have a coach and that team is not that good, I'm going to make Sean Payton a deal he cannot refuse. I'm going to back up the Brinks truck to his house. I'm going to give him whatever he wants, make him the highest paid coach ever. But yeah, you want him in the system. And I think Miami should be that team that's really trying to give him anything he wants.
Do you feel that maybe he did New Orleans dirty with that cap, with that restructuring and that new contract to Taysom Hill, and he's not even going to be there to watch the fallout of it going next season?
Taysom Hill is the reason why he's leaving. I don't know if the team kind of told him like, hey, we need to get you up out of here, or it seems like it was his decision, but you never know behind closed doors. But that deal is like, I think that's going to go down in one of the worst deals in Saints history.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of bad deals, thoughts on the overtime rule? We've been hearing all about overtime. The game between the Chiefs and the Bills, maybe one of the best games we will see all season, literally came down to a coin toss simply because neither defense could stop the other team. There was no stopping Patrick Mahomes. There was no stopping Josh Allen. Literally, the team with the ball last was going to win. Tara, what were your thoughts on this overtime? Do we need to change these rules, or are we okay with saying, you know what, Buffalo, maybe get a stop here?
I mean, even before this, I've wanted to change the rules. I really like college overtime. I can understand where that might be a little, I don't know. I mean, it's fun when you go into like a 7 overtime, college overtime. But I mean, you could even adjust it for the NFL and maybe start them at the 50 and make them go a little bit further. So it's not realistic that, you at least have to move the ball some in order to, get the field goal kickers in range. But yeah, I've been a proponent of wanting to change the overtime rules, because at this point it's just kind of ridiculous. When you get, I understand the concept of like, the defense needs to stop them, but when you've got these two prolific quarterbacks, clearly neither one of these defenses were going to be able to stop them. What defense at that point, with the hot streak that they were on at that point, what defense in the NFL was going to stop either one of them? So in my opinion, it really did come down to a coin toss. I do want to see the rules changed.
Yeah,
I think your thoughts, sir.
Yeah, I think we should. Each team should have a chance to score, and then have like a running clock or something like that. Not a full quarter, but maybe do like half a quarter and see what happens. And just let them play it out. It's more TV ratings, more money for them. Like, it's more revenue. So why not extend the games?
Well, one way to avoid extending the game, bringing in the Rouge from the CFL. You kicked that ball through the end zone. That's 1 point for you right there. Let's add some more scoring. Okay, maybe not. Maybe it's just the Canadian Football League here. Now, Tara, what was the biggest surprise for you from those divisional matchups? Was there anything that you kind of pulled from that?
Yeah, kind of an interesting surprise, really, just how incredibly balanced that Bengals offense was, from a pass perspective. You had Jamar Chase with 5 receptions, 109 yards, T. Higgins with 7 receptions, 96 yards, CJ Uzama, 7 receptions, 71 yards. And, it wasn't like Burrow had an insane day. He was very good from a pass perspective, but it wasn't that 500, almost, 500-yard game from previously towards the end of the season. So when I look at this and I look at that balanced attack, the fact that everyone was able to get involved, be relevant, have good fantasy numbers, I'm kind of looking forward to seeing if they're going to re-sign Uzama and move forward with that core right there. Because towards the end of the season, he was really coming on a lot stronger. In the beginning of the season, he had those, one game where he'd get a couple of touchdowns and then go back down to one target, be completely irrelevant. And so I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how he can fit in this offense moving forward. And if he's there in 2020, he's someone that could see an interesting boost in his value heading into 2022.
It's nice that you brought up CJ Uzama's name, because this is not just a preview show for the championships. This is also going to be a little bit of a tight end special a little bit later, the little tight end watch list, the little dynasty tight end rankings coming a little bit later. But Major, what was your biggest surprise from the divisional round?
I was super surprised that Jimmy G did not give that game away. He tried. He threw the pick, and there's a play that no one's talking about, but it was a toss play. He tossed it to the running back. He threw it so hard, like the running back had to, if he didn't catch that ball, it would have been all bad. But kudos to Jimmy G. He finally did not throw away a game, and I'm proud of him for that. Like a dad, like a proud dad.
Well, and for me, my biggest surprise is quarterbacks not having good games, but getting the victory. Jimmy G and the 49ers won a game against the Packers without scoring an offensive touchdown. Joe Burrow, if you would have said Joe Burrow was going to get sacked 9 times and throw an interception, put your hand up if you would have said the Bengals would have won. Now put your hand back down, because you are full of it. There's no one who would have said that Joe Burrow being sacked 9 times would have pulled out the victory. And there's no one that would have said that Jimmy Garoppolo would have got the win over Aaron Rodgers while not scoring an offensive touchdown. It's just silly to me to even think of that. But now, I mean, you go back to Aaron Rodgers' draft day. Sorry there, Tera, to kind of keep ripping at the wound here. But he basically said the 49ers would regret not drafting him, yet the 49ers are basically 4-0 against him. In fact, Aaron Rodgers is 11-10 in the playoffs. Meanwhile, Jimmy Garoppolo, I'm not 100% sure. Don't fact check me here, but I think he's 4-1 in the playoffs in his career. So, I mean, did Jimmy Garoppolo really outduel Aaron Rodgers? I don't know what to believe anymore. But, I mean, maybe this is a perfect way to segue into some of our disappointments in the divisional round. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Tera. Your biggest disappointment in the divisional round.
It's obvious for me, but before I go into that, Jimmy G did not outduel Aaron Rodgers, but I will say, I low-key would love to see at this point, since Packers are eliminated, so I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever. It would be kind of hilarious to see San Francisco make it to the Super Bowl, Jimmy G get the victory, and then get shipped off as a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Would that not be crazy? I kind of want to see it.
That's the smartest thing you ever said on the show, Tera. Good job.
I finally made Major happy.
Yeah, you took a week off to really process everything, and now you're coming back stronger. I like it.
God, I miss you. I miss you guys.
Was there one thing in particular that the Packers, you just have to shake your head at? Because I know that was your biggest disappointment was the Packers as a whole.
Yeah.
But is there anything you can kind of zero that venom towards?
I mean, it has to. God, I'm not going to disparage. I'm not going to disparage Aaron. It's not a fantastic playoff record. He, the performance wasn't fantastic. You might not say that he, did Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen kind of things. But at the end of the day, that special teams was just outrageous. And you knew it was a problem. And you continued to let it roll as is, which is really the most, shocking thing about that, coaching wise, you could know that was your weakness. The defense was incredibly improved. I feel like they just wasted a defense that really came through in a big way this season compared to prior seasons. Fantastic run game and all of that. And you just kind of literally gave the way with continued poor special teams performances. So it wasn't particularly shocking. It was just kind of like, yeah, if it was gonna end this way, this seems like the way that it would have theoretically ended. So yeah, that was my biggest disappointment, unfortunately, because writing's kind of on the wall here with where this is heading now that they've lost prior to even getting to the NFC Championship, unfortunately. So yeah, that was definitely my biggest disappointment of the week.
And Major, what would you like to write on the wall as your biggest disappointment from the divisional round?
I mean, all the games were great. I didn't really have any disappointments. I was trying really hard to figure this one out, but I was excited. My Niners beat Tera's Packers. That put a big smile on my face. So there's and your team is not even in it. So it was just I felt good. I got 3 of my favorite teams still in the race. I know what I'm doing here, guys.
It's a lot of favorite teams.
I know that it's
that's what you have. That's why it's a blessing and a curse, because one hand I have 3 teams that I really like that's in the final 4, and now I don't know who to pick for the winners. So
And for me, with no dog in the fight, I mean, how could I really be disappointed? 3 teams went on the road, pulled off huge victories. Every game was 3 points or less, had you on your edge of your seat. If you could even sit down for these games. But I guess if I was to single in all my disappointment into one area, Major, who did you pick to win that 49ers-Packers game?
I picked who did I pick?
You picked the Packers. So I'm disappointed in you not riding with your team.
It was a win-win for me.
Well, he's got 3 favorite teams, so he had so many choices of who he could have rode with.
Listen to the brain power here.
If you've got 3 favorite teams and you don't pick your team to win, are they really one of your favorite teams? Does that mean the Packers are one of his favorite teams?
It's a little reverse psychology or just super brain power. It's a win-win for me. If my team wins, they win. If the Packers win, I win. It was one of those. I played the odds. Come on, guys. You gotta catch up. Come on, guys. Come on.
It's like his bold predictions. They were always ones where theoretically he couldn't lose. But
but he
did a lot.
All right, let's continue on with the show.
Well, speaking of never being able to lose, I think as fans, we are in for a decade of excitement when it comes to Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. If that divisional game has any indication of what the next 10 years are like, buckle your seatbelts, get your popcorn, do all that fun stuff, because this is going to be exciting. Is Patrick Mahomes versus Josh Allen this generation's Peyton Manning versus Tom Brady? Now, I put this over to you, Tera.
I think it's better. No offense to Tom Brady whatsoever, talent-wise, but during his tenure at New England, for the vast majority of it, were you ever going into a draft saying, man, I really got to target Tom Brady here? I don't think that we ever were really doing that. Fantastic quarterback, just within the confines of the New England system. It never really called for him to, have that aggressive level of production really that Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes have. So when I look at those 2 guys battling it out right now, I think it's going to be a better battle moving forward. I'm excited to see it. They're 2 guys who can literally and do literally take over their teams, and they have the ability to do that. Tom Brady has that ability now in Tampa Bay, but unfortunately he just didn't really have much of that in New England. So I love it. It's I really love where this is heading moving forward.
Throwing shade at the GOAT.
It's not shade. Was he really in New England? Was it really just an aggressive offensive firepower from a pass perspective?
When he had Moss, yeah, that's it. But yeah,
he for the most part, he was lucky to get, every now and then the receivers that he did. They really weren't trying to let him just go off the way that they do with Patrick Mahomes.
And then, Major, your thoughts on this Allen versus Mahomes, this Manning versus Brady type scenario moving forward?
I think it's still a little bit too early to determine if it's going to be great or not. But if they continue at this rate, for mostly the facts that Tera was saying about, just even the way that NFL is now. It's a passing league. So, they are throwing the ball at a way higher clip than Manning and Brady did. And when they were doing it, we thought they were throwing it at a way greater clip. So, but I do think we do have to show some love to all the other quarterbacks in AFC. That's going to be a tough one. I think it's going to be a revolving door. You have Herbert, you have Burrow, you have Allen, you have Jackson. So I think it's going to be like maybe Mahomes versus everybody, so we'll see. I think it'll be a rotating team every other year. So it'll be interesting to see what's going on in these quarterback battles, but we are in good hands. Like we're going to see some good quarterbacks in these next 10 years.
And for me, it's the Bills and the Chiefs. They're the two top teams to beat, I think, year in and year out when it comes to the AFC East. That's just the way I think it is right now. And it's starting to feel like Patrick Mahomes is going to continue to get the better of Josh Allen. It's been that way for last year, now this year. Just like Brady always seemed to get the best of Peyton Manning there. Eventually, Josh Allen's going to get one. It's going to happen. Let's be honest there. Now, is Joe Burrow the Dan Marino or the Aaron Rodgers of our generation? And I mean that is because he's on the cusp of going to the Super Bowl. Marino got there once. I think it was his second season. Never again. Aaron Rodgers got to the Super Bowl, won it once, never again. Is Joe Burrow heading in that line? I don't know. That's for another show altogether. I just wanted to throw it out there as we head into what we learned from that divisional round. Tara, what did you learn?
What did I learn from that divisional round? I kind of think that, one of the interesting things, and, and I guess, everybody and their mother is talking about it on Twitter, which is, my point on that one. It's going to be, we've learned that Gabe Davis's ADP is going to fluctuate wildly during the offseason, and the takes on him are going to be, I am all in, I am all out. It's all over the place. He's going to be drafted by somebody ridiculously high, and then in the next league, just completely faded. It's going to be fun to see. I think, I love it when you have those guys that are just incredibly polarizing and you get to see people just hashing it out, debating and different philosophies on it. So I'm excited to see where it heads with him.
Yeah, I was looking at one of the lists there about receivers to have 4+ touchdowns at 200 yards. It's like Jerry Rice, he had 5 touchdowns at 200 yards. But the rest of the names on that list don't exactly scream Hall of Fame potential. I mean, I don't have the list right in front of me. I kind of glanced across on the Twitter then when it came up. But you look at that list, it's not a who's who of receivers, even though it's an impressive feat altogether. Now, Major, what was the thing that you learned here back in the divisional round?
Yeah, just to add to Tara's, I was big on Gabe Davis this season. And then they picked up Sanders, and he just kind of disappeared. I don't even know what happened. Was he like hurt half the season? Because didn't hear Gabe. You didn't hear his name at all for the most part. But every now and then he would, give you a touchdown here and there, but nothing spectacular. But I do see him being that guy next year. So hopefully, I don't know how high I'm gonna take him, but I think he'll be all right. But what I learned is Deebo's the best running back in the playoffs, man. I love Deebo. He's like my favorite player of like all time right now. He's like creeping up there with Warwick Dunn because the guy is just I see when he's running the ball, he's not running the ball as a wide receiver would. Like say how Tyreek Hill comes around on these like sweeps and stuff, like he's just running as fast as he can to the open hole. Deebo is actually setting up blocks, running through people. He's playing running back at a professional clip. You know what I mean? Like he's not a wide receiver to me. He's the best running back in the playoff. With all due respect to my guy Mixon, like Mixon is one of my favorites. Just his running style is dope. But Deebo to me is, if we just made him a running back today, I think he would be like up there with Jonathan Taylor and the other guys you want to put up there.
It was funny because with his yards per carry average at about 6.2 in the regular season, if you gave him Devin Singletary type usage, so 188 carries, give or take, I think Deebo Samuel would have finished as the 8th highest running back as far as yardage was concerned.
Nice.
I mean, just to kind of put things into perspective.
Nice now, little stat there, Matt. Good job, dude.
Yeah, I did it for a video or something, so I had it written down eventually. Now, the one thing I learned right now is, I'll be honest, I'm a better dancer than Jackson Mahomes.
Does
Come on
that
now.
mean
It's
that
true.
does that mean we're getting you on TikTok?
Please no.
Hey,
please
you know what?
no,
It could be. It could be.
no.
But we might call it the Dingus Dance Off TikTok show
Oh,
there.
that's
Where,
a good name. You know he's been thinking about it. That's a pretty good name. He's been thinking about it.
I think it's dance off.
well,
The
if you've
Dancing
seen it,
Vipers.
you can go back in there. I can bust out a pretty mean reverse worm. So, you know,
I don't wanna
we
see
can have a little bit of fun with that. Now, let's get into some predictions here for these championship games. Starting with the AFC, we've got a rematch in which the Cincinnati Bengals won the first go around, but that game was in Cincinnati. This game is in Arrowhead. Chiefs, Bengals, Tara.
I am doing something very innovative here with my prediction, and I am literally I'm literally flipping the scenario. I think that the Chiefs are going to win this time. Instead of losing 31-34, they're going to win 34-31. I still think it's going to be a fantastic game. I have the utmost confidence that Joe Burrow will perform to a high level. We'll get great offense on both sides. But when you look at that prior game, he had to, he threw 30 of 39, 446 yards, 4 touchdowns, a fantastic feat. The likelihood of that happening again in order to get that 3-point victory over Kansas City, I don't see it happening. So, in my opinion, I think he'll come slightly back down to reality on earth in terms of those statistics, and that'll give the edge there to the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes.
Major, point, counterpoint.
Tera Point is the reason that I was leaning towards the Chiefs, because it's kind of hard to, what does he say, strike lightning in a bottle twice or whatever. It's going to be hard. Joe Burrow played like a perfect game. He was 30 for 39, 446 yards, 4 TDs. Jamar Chase exploded, 11 receptions, 244 yards, 3 touchdowns. So I think the key to this game is going to be Joe Mixon, and I think the Bengals are going to win 28-27.
Now, normally I would I could support you here a little bit. Tre'Davious Ward, he went in there and he shut down Stephon Diggs last week. I think he held him to 3 catches for 7 yards. Again, you mentioned Jamar Chase, 266 receiving yards. There was no stopping Jamar Chase back in that, week 17 contest.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's going to stop this week. I think get your popcorn ready. This is going to be Bills Chiefs all over again. And you know what? Hootie! Get your Skyline chili ready for this one. Cincinnati, you are going to the Super Bowl. I'm calling it right now, 36-33 Bengals. I'm all in on Joe Burrow, at least to get to the Super Bowl. Does he get there again after this season? I don't know. But
and let me add also, I think ignorance is bliss. Like, I don't think the Bengals even know what they're doing. They're just like having fun and playing. And to me, that's super dangerous. It's a lot of pressure on the Chiefs to get there again, So they're just playing with house money right now. So the Bengals have a great opportunity to shock a lot of people.
So we got Tera taking the Chiefs 34-31. Yes. We got Major taking the Bengals in an upset 28-27. And then we've got myself taking Houday Nation 36-33. Icky shuffling all the way to Southern California, to Los Angeles, to the Super Bowl to take on our winner of the NFC Championship. Tara, we've got round 3, round 7. I don't know how you want to describe it, between the San Francisco 49ers and the Los Angeles Rams. The 49ers won both these games this year. They won the 2 before that. Actually, they won the 2 before those 2. They're coming in on a 6-game winning streak against the Rams. Tara, who do you got in this contest?
I get the logic of, the Rams, they got to get one, but it's something about Kyle Shanahan has a chokehold on these young coaches for some reason. I mean, just, that horde of guys kind of, the McVays, the, Matt LaFleur, the Cliff Kingsbury. For some reason, in that whole little grouping, Kyle Shanahan just has he just has their number in general. And it pains me to admit that because he drives me crazy from a fantasy perspective, but I think he is again going to pull out the victory here. I'm saying San Francisco 23-16.
You get yourself a close one. And I love how you mentioned that little connection between McVay and Shanahan. Back when both of them were coaches in Washington, the offensive coordinator was Shanahan, the tight ends coach was McVay, and somewhere in there, I think LaFleur might have been the quarterback's coach there. So that's where all that connection kind of comes together in Washington. Major, who do you have?
I'm going to go with the Rams. It's really hard to beat a team 3 times in one season. Like that's a really hard thing to do. So I'm leaning on that side. It was super close for me though. I love both of these teams.
They're both your favorite teams, right?
They're both my favorite teams, along with the Bengals and along with the Chargers as well. But I think it's going to come down to the quarterbacks and who is going to turn over the ball the least. There's going to be turnovers, but who's going to do it the least? Just the average between the yardage in both of the games. Who is this here? Who do I have here? Oh, Jimmy G is at 249 yards. And Maddie is at 240.5 yards. Jimmy G's thrown 3 touchdowns. Matt is thrown 4. But Matt has followed that 4 touchdowns up with 4 interceptions. And Jimmy G has followed his 3 touchdowns with 2. So to me, that's a pretty even, they're zeroing each other out. But I don't know. It really depends. Whoever has the least amount of turnovers in this game is going to win the game. But I'm going to give it to the Rams to play the Super Bowl at home. That's going to be awesome.
There is no way the Rams are going to let the 49ers change in their dressing room. 0% chance of that happening. Now, I will break these games down as well as the Bengals and the Chiefs here probably Thursday when my primetime previews come out for both these matchups. I've already got all the paperwork done. I talked about a lot. But for me, it comes down to that offensive line. Nick Bosa, 2 sacks last week. Absolutely wreaked havoc. That Week 18 game, the 49ers got to Matt Stafford 5 times. I think they hit him 13 times. Eric Armstead, 6 sacks in the last 4 games. Now, on the flip side, Trent Williams tweaked that ankle. That's something to keep an eye on for the 49ers. And you can't have a chink in the armor there when it comes to facing this Rams pass rush. Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Leonard Floyd, these guys can get after the quarterback as well as anybody. I think they're 3rd in the league in sacks in the regular season. For me, the streak has to end. There's no way they makes it 7 in a row. Now, you mentioned how hard it is to beat a team 3 times in a season. It's actually pretty easy. I mean, since the merger in 1970. No, I know you said it's hard. I'm telling you, it's actually pretty easy. Since 1970, the merger, 20 teams have faced a divisional opponent in the playoffs after beating them twice in the regular season. 13 of those teams won the 3rd matchup. That is 65% of the teams have gone on to win all 3 matchups in a season. Absolutely mind-blowing stat right there. Stolen from ESPN or somewhere. I stole it. I saw it. I had to use it because, it's unfathomable. But, hey, you were around when Steve Young played against the San Diego Chargers, and you remember getting that monkey off my back kind of thing. This is the Rams doing the same thing. They're going to go in and get that monkey off the back because they're not going to let the 49ers use their dressing room and celebrate in Southern California at the Super Bowl. Plus, Matt Stafford, he is a player of destiny. In the playoffs, you talk about those 2 games against San Francisco early in the season. He struggled against both of them. I'll admit that. The first 8 games of the season, there may not have been a better quarterback. And looking at what he's done in the playoffs, he's been very good so far in the playoffs. I'll talk about that here later on in this week. But I'll tell you one thing, what you can't do against Matt Stafford is blitz him. He's like a 139.6 rating against the blitz all season long, which is the best of any quarterback in the National Football League. So that's kind of how I break that down. And by the way, 2 good tight ends. George Kittle finally got on the right side of the stat sheet here in the last game in the divisional round. And Tyler Higbee's been playing some pretty good ball in the playoffs. I use that term loosely in the playoffs because he was struggling mightily down the stretch. Got it right. And just as I do that and we segue into the next part of the show, we are going to talk about our tight end watch list. So stick around. More on that here in just a second.